Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me here tonight at our rare live. I don't do lives a whole lot anymore. So thanks for joining me for those of you who are popping on here. I'm just going to wait a couple of minutes to give people a chance to pop on. I know, if you're getting dinner ready or cleaning up or, finishing up a craft project, so we can start this new one, then I want to give you all a chance to pop on here. My camera, my phone is a little crooked. I'm using a new light ring tonight and it's a little bit crooked. So sorry about that. But this new light ring will allow me to tip it down and that way you guys can see my hands a little bit better. So hopefully you like that little new addition. I've been busy all day long. I actually set up my new little area here in the background, right, for some ambiance. I even have some little candles. Um, so, uh, so just trying to give us that, nice vibe for our creative community. So I am live streaming tonight. I'm trying for the first time ever to simultaneously live stream to Facebook and to my YouTube channel. And if you want to follow my YouTube channel, you certainly can do that. It's 13 Design. And I have a lot of my tutorials up there, just basic tutorials. Just so you can get an idea of how easy decoupage can be and how fun and how great. And yeah, so you can certainly check that out. I'm just going to look over here and make sure everything is streaming correctly. I just want to make sure, because like I said, it's my first time trying to do this simultaneously. Let's see. Just want to make sure. Yep, I'm on Facebook. Let's see. Am I on YouTube? Yes, I am. Okay, so according to my computer, I'm on both. So great. So hopefully I can reach some more people and help really build our creative community. So I have some notes here so I don't forget to tell you guys anything because I get a little excited when I'm doing my lives and I forget to even introduce myself. Just while we're waiting, I'll let you guys know. First of all, again, thanks so much for joining us. This is the March Maker Circle. And what that is an event I'm doing every month. Normally, I offer an art kit, and you're able to purchase the art kit either on my website. You'll see the link down here to my website, and or you can stop at one of my stockist locations at the small shop in your town. Hopefully, carries my papers, and you're able to grab a kit there. This month, I'm really trying to get my Maker Circle to grow a little bit. So I wanted to offer this free event that did not require an art kit. We're going to, hopefully you already did, go around your house, look for something that's a little bit dusty, it's off in the corner, it's one of those pieces that you're like, one day I'll get to fix that up, or one day I'll give it a glam up, and you just haven't gotten around to it. So hopefully you found something, whether it's a little piece of decor from your, you know, uh, 10 years ago, or it's a small piece of furniture that's just a little blah and you want to jazz it up. You certainly are able to do that with a little bit of paint and decoupage, of course, right? So hopefully you found something suitable. So let's see how far. Okay, we're almost 4 minutes in now, so I'll probably get started. So my name is Virginia. I am the owner, artist, and designer of 13 Design Decoupage Papers. And if you've ever purchased one of my papers and you have it sitting in a drawer somewhere, get it out for tonight, right? So my designs are a little bit different, a little bit unique, and that was my whole idea when I started creating this line. I used to be a furniture artist, and I would put my original artwork on furniture pieces, and then I would sell them, and then they were gone forever, which was a little bit bittersweet. So I decided to start making my designs into decoupage papers. So if you purchased one, this is just an example of one of my new ones. You can see I always incorporate music, book pages. I just started doing some designs with old, like vintage magazines that I'm so excited about. So I can't wait to show you guys. But my designs do come in different sizes. I have like multi-prints that you can get that are great. You can get quite a few projects out of that. And for smaller things, maybe art journaling, that sort of thing. And then I have like the medium size, and then I have poster size, which people often think are just for furniture artists. And of course they are. And I wanted to support the furniture artists since I used to be one, but um, they certainly can be chopped up. You don't have to use them as a whole. So you can chop them up and use them however you'd like in your designs. My whole purpose for starting this company, besides to kind of save my artwork and not just have it be a one-off, is to inspire creativity. And I love teaching art classes and tutorials and just inspiring people to create. So hopefully I can do that with you tonight. All right. So creating together is always just way more fun than creating by yourself, right? So why not? We'll just get together virtually. And if you got together with some friends and you're watching me and you're together, even better. So I love that. Um, so I told you guys to shop around your house, right? And find something, decor, small piece of furniture. I, of course, have a hoard of little things that I'm gonna get to one day, right? Yes, I have my decoupage papers but I just can't get to everything. I'm always making things, but I just can't get to it all. So I have this super outdated jewelry box, right? Look at that. It's even a little bit dirty inside. I didn't have a chance to even clean it. But so this is what I'm going to be doing tonight. And you can see it's a decent size, has a little drawer, yada yada. So I'm sure you probably have one of these sitting around somewhere, or maybe you have another little piece of furniture, a stool, maybe a wall hanging. So whatever you have, get it out. We're going to do this together. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Hopefully, I don't know if they're showing up for me or not. Hopefully I can see your comments. Oh, I see. Okay. I don't have them big enough. I can't read them. There. Okay. Oh, hey, Kim. How are you? I'm so glad you could join us. So as we're going along with this project, I'm going to be telling you how I'm prepping and doing the jewelry box. Yours might be a little different than mine, and I'll try to touch on some different points, just so you know, uh, you get some answers from me. I'm just trying to get my feed up here because I'm having trouble seeing what people are saying, and I certainly want to um, answer your questions. So let me just scroll down. Sorry, technical stuff. I am not a technical gal. Let me just tell you, this is so my son's realm. He's like the techie guy. And I'm going to get it up on YouTube. If I don't get to your question during the feed because I either don't see it or just don't get a chance to answer you, I will answer you. Oh, and I'm like in double talk here. So let me mute this because you don't want to hear me in echo. Sorry, you guys. Yes, it's technicalities. See? If I can't figure out how to turn my volume off, I'm just going to go ahead and shut. Yeah, I'm just going to shut down my my YouTube channel. Okay, so I don't want to hold us up anymore. All right, so sorry. Thank you for your patience. So first things first. So when you're starting any project, of course you want to have a design in mind. If you're like me, I just kind of picked my paper 5 minutes before we started. So I'm kind of a fly by the seat of your pants kind of girl. I don't really plan it out a whole lot, but you do want to have a general idea of kind of the vibe you're going for, right? Since mine's a jewelry box, I'm thinking feminine. And it's spring, so I'm thinking spring. So that's where my thought process went. So I'm going to use our new design here. Delicate is our new design. So I also have some small ones left over from another project I did, so I may use those as well. So I'm going to keep those available to me. All right, so I'm going to tip this up. And again, I don't know if that means I won't be able to see your comments as much, but I want to tip this up so you guys can see what I'm doing. I purposely bought this new ring light so that I could do that. So let's see. Can I get it so you can see? Is that good? Can you see? All right. Told you, new ring light, got to learn to tighten it, right? Okay, so whenever you're starting a new project, maybe I can zoom it in a little. I'm so sorry as I'm figuring this out. Um, Whenever you start a new project, you want to make sure you clean it off because something like this, especially if it's been wood, if it is wood or even wood veneer, it's probably been waxed or pledged. Everybody remember pledge? And so it probably has like a finish on it. So we want to make sure that we clean it really, really good. And I put my cleaner, sorry, right here. And I'm just going to use Windex. You can use soap and water. You can use whatever you want to clean it. Some of the different paint brands offer a specific cleaner. I just want to get down through any wax buildup because we want the paint and to go on nice. We do, though, if we are using a chemical like Windex, want to make sure that we clean it off. So I will spray some soapy water on here after and clean it off. We want to make sure to get all around. I think this is a veneer. The top might be wood, but this is definitely a veneer here on the side. So just clean this off. If you have your piece, hopefully you're cleaning it. And you know what? I'm going to clean the back as well. I don't feel like a project is really complete unless you do the insides and the back side. It just doesn't look complete to me. All right, I'm going to throw this out. I put my trash bag really close by so I could get to that pretty easily. And I'm going to spray some water and just wipe that off because we don't want the chemicals to still be on there. We want our paint to definitely go on. And like I said, I really didn't clean this or do anything to this ahead of time because I wanted to do it in real time and show you what I'm doing step by step. And I know to some people decoupage seems a little intimidating. I'm going to show you tonight that it is not. It is not intimidating, I promise. Can't remember if I did this side, so I'm just going to do it again. And then, of course, the top. I do not paint the bottom, though, normally, just because, you know, then it'll stick to the surface it's sitting on, unless you put the little feet on. And I think this one already has little feet. If it's something like this, they often put the little feet. I have new ones somewhere. I put them somewhere so that it won't stick to the surface that I ultimately end up sitting it on. I'm just going to wipe down inside a little bit too. And get this all ready. Okay, so now that we're all wiped down, I'm going to just tell you with this particular piece, I'll try to get you down a little bit closer here. For this particular piece, you can see that it's a dark wood. And again, the top, I think, is real wood because it certainly looks like it from the inside here. It's a dark wood. So if I'm painting this a dark color, I don't have to worry about it so much. But if I'm painting this a light color, sometimes the dark wood tannins come through your paint. You don't want that to happen because then I don't know if you've ever seen a project that somebody didn't really take the tannins into consideration and they end up having, like, if they put white paint down, it ends up being like almost like antique-y looking. And if that's the look you're going for, great. But like it comes through and it's almost like a yellow type look that you end up with. So I'm really trying to get you guys so you can see this really well. Hopefully I have it at a good angle. So in order to prevent the tannin bleed through, I'm going to use a primer. And there's lots of different primers out there. This particular one, I don't know if this is upside down or not. This is one that I like to use. A lot of the paint companies do have their own paint primers, but it is an important step. It is a pain to have to do yet another step, but if you're gonna do it, you need to do it right. So, oops, did I have it upside down? No, I didn't. Look at that. Yeah. So I'm gonna open this. Let me scoot this back. I got my handy dandy screwdriver. I'm just gonna pry this open here. I shook it up. I don't know if I shook it up enough. I know it's been sitting there for quite some time, but we'll find out, won't we? And for this, I'm just going to use just a little foam brush because sometimes these primers can be really hard to get out of brushes. I'm going to also put it on a plate. This is important for your glues, your top coats, your paints, everything. You don't want to be dipping back in after you paint something, because if there's dirt, or if you're painting a different color over top of a paint color, it could lift off and you're dipping it back in, and that could contaminate your paint here. So I'm just going to take this and gracefully, not really, I never do anything gracefully. The little jab that I put today about glue might end up where it was never meant to be, yeah, that was really for me. I am a messy artist. If you're not a messy artist, you're not doing it right. And I never wear gloves or anything like that. I get it all over my hands. That's why I have short fingernails, because it would get under my fingernails. I always had paint everywhere. All right, I'm gonna grab this and clean up the side here. I think that's plenty of primer on my, we'll call the plate my palette. I'm not a fancy gal. I use whatever I have. Okay. Don't forget to put your lid back on. I'm not going to hammer it back on yet, but make sure you put your lids back on. You don't want your things drying out. And if you're also having a drink while you're working, don't dip your brushes in your drink. Yes, I speak from experience. So we're going to get started. I think I'm going to do the drawer first. I think I'm going to skip the sides. I sometimes do the sides, but given that I want to try to get this done tonight, I'm going to skip the sides. Sometimes I'll even decoupage the sides, which I might do. That's always a fun little surprise. I just like the little surprise when you pull out the drawer. So I might decoupage it. I don't think I'm going to paint it. So again, this is just the primer, and we're getting in all the nooks and crannies, right? And you guys know how to paint. If I was pre-recording this, I would speed up this part, but if you're doing it with me, you're going to be at the same point. So and you want it to be nice, even strokes and a nice, even base, because you're going to paint over this then. And this particular drawer, the sides do show these little sides, so I want to make sure that I also get them. And I am going to do something to the handles. Hopefully I don't, maybe I should put this back up a little. Hopefully you can see everything that I'm doing here. And I'm not wearing an apron tonight, so watch me get all over my shirt. I'm telling you, I am a messy artist. So I'm just going to kind of go around the handle. I'm not too concerned. If you get paint or anything on your handles, while it's still wet is the time to wipe it off. Or if you're going to spray them, I used to remove the handles and do all that, right? And it just, for whatever reason with these vintage and antique jewelry boxes, it's really, really difficult to get things to go back together once you take it apart. So I kind of stopped doing that. There's really no reason if I can just go around them. Okay, and again with the side here. The only thing I want to do then is just make sure I don't have any drips or anything happening anywhere. Okay, so it looks pretty good. Again, the whole purpose is just to block any dark tannins from coming through. So now I'm going to do the body of it. Start here on the back. And again, nice, even strokes. And you always, 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 always paint with the grain. Always. There'll be some people who tell you that it's okay, you know, to go at a diagonal or what, but no, go with the grain. Please, please, please. Again, this is just the primer, which is also, it's the 123, Zinsser 123 Bullseye. You don't have to use this brand. Your paint brand that you use, like of chalk paint, they usually have a stain blocker or primer or something like that for you to use. So just nice even strokes. And we just really want to make sure we get into all the cracks and crevices. I redid some cabinets one time and did not get in all the cracks and crevices, and then the tannins did ultimately end up showing through. So it is important to get it everywhere. You know what, I'm going to push my sleeves up because I'll probably end up with it in my sleeves. And then this will forever be a paint shirt. Which honestly, almost everything I own is a paint shirt. Just going through. And painting can be so just relaxing and therapeutic if you had, you know, a crazy day, or, you know, you just want to kind of do something that it doesn't require a whole lot of thought as long as you're just getting nice even strokes, right? I am going to paint right here because when you pull the drawer out, you will see that. But I do want to make sure it's not blobbing over the edge because we don't want it to impede the drawer sliding in and out. Again, get it down in, and that's where the, what do you call this, foam brush. Why couldn't I think of that? This is where the foam brush is actually really good for this sort of coat of primer, is because it can really squish and get down in all the cracks and crevices. Again, super important, super important. And if you have something that is like a real dark wood, hopefully one coat of primer is enough to block your tannins, but you know, 2 coats never hurt anything. You just don't want to get it too thick because that sometimes can crack, and then that'll change the way that your paint will look once you layer that on. So we're just kind of doing some layers here. to make sure. And, you know, it'd be really easy to skip this step, but prep is so important. I cannot even begin to stress that enough. Um, like I said, I used to be a furniture artist, and so I am well aware of how important it is to properly prep. Please don't skip the prep, and don't skip cleaning the wood, because if things aren't adhering properly, you are going to have issues later, especially if it's a piece of furniture that's going to get, like, say, a table where the top gets a lot of wear and tear. You don't want to do all this work and then have it peel off or scratch off easily. Again, going with the grain, go with the grain. And I know oftentimes some of the chalk paint brands say that you can paint directly onto the wood without doing this. But again, if it is a dark wood, it will bleed through. The tannins will come through, and you will have done all that beautiful painting and wasted all of that paint for nothing. All right, when I do something like this, I don't like to do around the edge, because I have found if I paint this here, which is kind of like the mirror area, which it's interesting there's no mirror here, but the two painted surfaces oftentimes will stick together unless you put like a little bumper pad here to keep it from doing that. So just to avoid all of that, I'm going to skip painting this edge while I paint this edge here. Just because I think it's more important to have a finished look up here than it is on the lower portion. And I can always decoupage that as well. I like to add fabric or decoupage just to kind of, not even kind of, to give it a real finished look. I literally spent all day getting my craft area, my craft studio, all straightened up. I have so many things to sell, supplies and everything. So many different things I used to be into, and just I like to try different things. Hmm. So when I would try something, I would get all the supplies, and now my craft space is like jam packed. So I'm getting rid of a ton of stuff. So that's what I was doing actually all day yesterday and today. And it's so much easier to think and create when you don't have a mess. Again, I'm not going to worry so much about the hinges. I can wipe them off while this is wet, and really that's not something that I see a whole lot, so I can always paint over them as well. Okay, nice even coat. I'll get my paper towel. I always have a roll of paper towels handy to help me out here. Okay, so I'm just gonna let this sit. Oh, I didn't do the top, did I? I'm gonna let this sit a little bit and dry. I do have my hair dryer handy. Um, for those of you who didn't see, I gave like a little supply list of suggested supplies you might want. One of them was the hair dryer and or the heat gun. Just always handy to speed things up for you. I do want to say though, if you're using a heat gun, which I do normally use, but it continues to run after I turn it off, and I don't want it to run and you won't be able to hear me. So I'm going to use the hair dryer tonight. But especially with the heat gun, you don't want to get it too close to your project. Again, I speak from experience. It will basically bake your paint and it will bubble it if you get it too close. So don't be in a big hurry to dry things. You know, again, do it properly. If you're going to do it properly. And then you're not wasting your time. Okay, I just want to make sure I got it down in all the cracks and crevices. And then, of course, a nice smooth. And you see how I'm putting on like a thin coat. Again, don't be crazy and put on a big, thick coat of primer, because if it doesn't dry properly and it cracks, it's going to affect the way that your top coat of paint will look. And again, you could do a dark paint and you wouldn't have to worry so much if you have tannins, but I don't want a dark color, so I don't think the dark color would go with that beautiful orange inside. So my computer keeps turning off here. I want to make sure I can see, make sure that you can still see what I'm doing. Okay, so while we're going to let that dry just a little bit, and actually I do see some drips here. I want to make sure that I address now. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing in between here. A few little drippies. A little too much paint. And not only will that not look nice, but it'll take forever to dry. So we want to make sure we address that now. Okay. Alrighty. I'm going to just set this way over poured plate of primer aside. I might even stick it down here on the floor so it's out of my way. Watch, I'm going to step in that when we're done. Maybe I shouldn't put it right there. I'll put the cleaner right in front of it, then I won't step in it. Okay, so while this is drying, I'm going to make sure I don't have any wet on my hands. And, you know, keeping baby wipes close by is a really, really good idea. They're really good for getting excess paint off your hands and stuff before you go ahead and handle anything else. I, however, cannot find mine. I have no idea what I do with them. I have like 2 packs of baby wipes. I think they might still be packed away in my bins from Pinners in Kansas City. So I am going to have to find them. All right, so for my design, I had decided that I really wanted to use my new paper. And I think what I want to do is put the bulk of the delicate design right on top. I really like how it looks. I think it's nice and soft. And so while we're waiting for that to dry up a little bit, and this primer actually ends up, it dries pretty quick. I mean, look at this. It's already dry on here. So it actually dries really quick. I might not even need the hair dryer, or just very little. So just decide how you want this to look. Do you want to cut it out with a pair of scissors and just have the flower? Do you like the music sheet background, which I kind of like? Do you want to keep it? Or do you want to cut just the head of the flower? Do you want to do a controlled tear with the water pen? And for those who don't know what a water pen is, just grab one here. This is a water pen. You fill this chamber with water. It comes out the tip of the brush. Many of you have seen me show this before and demonstrate it before. Just give it a little squeeze and it gets the water. There we go. Come out the end. And when you put it on the paper, you're basically painting a water line that will allow you to gently tear and have a controlled tear. So your tear is not zigzagging all over the place, unless that's what you want. I'm not going to use that tonight. I do use it quite a bit, but I'm not going to use it tonight. I think I want to keep this as this particular design. I really like the paper and everything. So I'm going to let that be what it is. But I do want to add, I think maybe on the front drawer, a little flower possibly around the front here. So I think I'm going to cut out the small paper here. And I'm going to purposely choose one that has been bent, right? It's been folded. I don't know if you can see the fold line, because I want to show you how this tissue paper is really great. And it's so easy to smooth out. You don't have to worry if there's any, folds or anything. It's gonna lay nice and flat. So I am purposely going to choose this one. So I'm just gonna cut it out. I should probably cut this off and toss this because that was from a previous project. I really do like this new design, and I'm just gonna go ahead and cut it out. And it might not be perfect because I don't want to take all day doing this. An X-Acto knife might even work better on one of these smaller designs. I wish I had music to play. I should have music here. So while I'm cutting, you can listen to the music. And for those who have asked, yes, Delicate is the Taylor Swift song. I try to pick songs that go along with whatever my paper subject matter is. And I just think it's kind of fun to match them up. And you guys will definitely see that with my new designs I have coming out. Again, they're summer themed and they are using vintage magazines. I have tons of old Life magazines, and I kind of was flipping through them one day and got some inspiration, and so a new line of decoupage papers was born. I just like using unique and surprising materials in my designs. So hopefully my designs can inspire you. So again, we're just waiting for the literal paint to dry, right? Oh my. Waiting for the paint to dry and cutting out our design here. So this would be from the small decoupage paper that has a multi sizes on it. And I think I'm just going to leave the middle in there. If I had my X-Acto handy, which I didn't grab, I would probably cut that out, but I think it's all right because I'm going to use the whole page at the top. So again, these are different size papers. If you're doing something similar to this and you wanted to use the big one and the little one, you would need both sizes. But yeah, I think this will look pretty cool. All right, so I'm going to set those aside. So I've cut that out. I'm going to set it aside. And let's see if this is dry yet. Let's see if our primer coat is dry yet. It's a little tacky. Just a little. Yep, got some in my finger there. I'm going to go ahead and grab my hairdryer. So if you are waiting for yours to dry, you might want to grab your hairdryer and dry it up here. So I'm sorry for the noise, just temporarily. Oh, maybe it's not going to start. I haven't used this hairdryer in a while. Maybe I do have to use my... Oh, there we go. I just needed that little button thing you push. So kind of down where there is like a little extra in the nooks and crannies. I think up here I just need to hit it with the hair dryer a little bit. Again, I just want to make sure that I'm doing this correctly. I'm doing it right. Again, if you're using the heat gun, do not get it this close to your project. If you do, it will heat up your paint and bubble it and possibly make it peel, really. So sometimes a hair dryer is best. Getting pretty dry pretty quick. Like I said, this particular primer dries pretty quickly. Get it in the edge here. It's like the edges are what's still a little sticky, a little bit wet. Oh yeah, up here, look at in the cracks here. It's still very, very wet. I'm actually going to stick my paper towel in between the two layers just to make sure that it doesn't stick together. I really don't want it to stick together. But it's a nice, smooth, thin layer that's going to help block the tannins. You're going to be so sick of hearing me say tannins. But it is really, really important. Because if you don't and you do a light color, you're going to get that ugly yellow. It's not a nice yellow. It's an ugly yellow bleed through of the tannins. Maybe we should make that the word of the night, tannins. Every time you hear the word tannins, take a drink of whatever you've got. I myself have flavored water. Nothing exciting. I'm really just trying to get what's down in the nooks and crannies. Just running your hand over it, checking it out. Oops, you can't forget the backside. I think it's pretty dry. Pretty dry. Yep, my napkin didn't stick to the inside, so I think we're good. I'm going to turn that off, sit it back here. Okay, so the next big thing, I didn't even really check this, but it is dry. The next big choice that you have to make, right, is your paint color. So if I'm doing something with purple, I think I really like the soft feel and the soft look of all of this. When you are decoupaging and you're using the 18-pound tissue paper, let's see if I can show you on this. Let me find a piece of paper here. I just want to show you. So when you are decoupaging and you don't paint white behind your decoupage, okay? Can you see how nice and bright that is? Can you see where I don't have white paper? See the difference? How it's a little bit more muted, and here the colors stay true to what is on the paper. Now, put it on something dark and see how much darker it gets. So if you're looking for a muted color scheme, you can certainly do that by just putting the paper on a dark color, like a dark pink color. If you want it to stay true to the colors on the paper, you're going to need to either paint your project a light color or white, or you would paint the back side of your paper white. You would actually go ahead and paint the back side of your paper white. I'm going to be painting a light color, so I think it will be okay to just go ahead and put the decoupage right on the surface of the paint. So I was kind of thinking this really pretty, I like Miss Lillian's paints. Just this really pretty, I think it's called Lullaby. You can see I've used this quite a few times. But I kind of like, if I just lay my decoupage paper on there, I kind of like how that looks. And I'm not just going to paint it flat, of course, you know me, but you certainly could. I like how that looks. And I'll also show you too with this, you know, where am I thinking of putting this? Like you want to just have an idea as you're getting into the project here of where you're going to put everything. I don't like to center things. I don't like when things are, you know, I don't know, because I think I don't like them centered because I can never get them perfectly centered. It's probably because I don't measure. I just kind of eyeball it. So I guess if you really wanted it to be completely centered, you would go ahead and measure and make sure that it's right in the center. So I kind of purposely always off center or make it kind of cockeyed like that. Um, but I think I'll probably do something along these lines where it's off centered. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna shake this up. If you have paint, it's been sitting around a little while, you're gonna want to shake it up. Um, do you need to use chalk paint? No, you don't have to use chalk paint. Um, I like chalk paint. I have painted furniture with acrylic paint as well. You know, like a nice acrylic paint, like the Apple Barrel brand. Um, as long as you're sealing it up nice, I'm I'm sure there'll be people out there that say, no, no, you have to use chalk paint. I don't know. I've done furniture. I did furniture for 7 years and sometimes used acrylic. Sometimes I mixed acrylic and chalk paint. So let me get this peeled open. This little paper that they put on top is kind of stuck fast. And again, when you're using your paint, I know it's so tempting to just dip your brush into the big jar, right? Please don't do that. Because if you pull any of the tannins or you pull any of the primer off and you stick it back into your container, it, you know, it contaminates it. And we don't want to have to be buying paint all the time, right? I'm going to poke a little hole here because I'm having trouble getting into this paint. Like I said, I've used this color before quite a few times. So I'm going to go ahead and squeeze out my color here on the plate because I'm going to start with just a base coat. And of course, since it's older paint and I've had it a while, I have some dried pieces. I want to make sure that none of that gets into the coats of paint that I'm painting, because if I'm going to ultimately, well, it'll look bad. And if I'm ultimately going to decoupage, we want to make sure that the surface is nice and smooth. You don't want the surface to be the reason you're getting lumps and bumps in your paper, in your decoupage paper. So always make sure it's nice and smooth, and make sure you're using clean brushes, right? Don't be using dirty brushes now. I'm terrible at cleaning my brushes, honestly. I cleaned my brushes last night for the first time in like a week. I know it's terrible. Don't send the paintbrush police after me, please. I think I'll use this one. I just like the little brushes. You can tell which ones are my favorite because they have paint all over the handles. Okay, so I'm going to, oh, and I also stuck my lid back on. Again, you don't want your paints to dry out. So I'm going to start with the drawer again. And again, I always like to start with the little nooks and crannies just to kind of make sure that I'm getting them, right? I don't want to not get them. And again, going with the green, with, with, with the green. And again, don't forget the edge that we'll sometimes see when the drawer is pulled out. We want to make sure it looks nice. We want to make sure we don't have blobs. I don't know if you can see here, like if I just left that, it would make like a lump there. So you want to make sure to smooth out all the places where there could be little like blobs of paint. I don't know what else to call them. But those can be little buggers, I'll tell you. And this, because it's light paint, 99.9% of the time, you're going to need to do a second coat, especially if you want it to be true to the color that's in the jar, right? Just going to go around here real nice. Make sure getting it in all the cracks and crevices. Again, on the edge, it's going to show. And also, again, not big, thick coats of paint. I guess I'm doing this way over here and you can't even see it. I'm so used to just painting on my own. Yeah, nice thin coats. Trust me, it's worth it. It's almost like, do you ever spray paint something and you're like so like you just want it to be done, right? And you spray a heavy coat and then you get all those drips. It's kind of like that. Like, don't try to rush it, right? Just try to do it nice and, not in a big hurry. Even if you have somewhere to be, you can do a little bit and then come back to it. Let's see, I think I'll start on the back like I did before. Nice even strokes. You can always add more paint. It's harder to take paint away than it is to add it. And it's not impossible to take it away, but it's just so much easier just to add another brush full of paint. And see how, because it's not a huge surface, I'm just going to take my brush the whole way across, and that gives it a really nice even finish. Again, if I somehow miss a question or something, or you think of something after the fact, please feel free to shoot me a message. I'm happy to answer your questions. Nice, even strokes, thin. I know I probably sound like a broken record, but it's just so important. So, so important. See how nice that looks? And you can see some of the dark coming through. That's not tannins, that's just the color of the wood. Just thought this would be a sweet color for that delicate design. Again, here I just want a little bit because this may show when you pull the drawer out. And underneath, with this, because there's a drawer, I'm not going to go all the way in. I'm just not going to do that. Hopefully, if you're doing your project with me, you've got your painting now. Hopefully, you're not waiting for your primer to dry. Again, get all the cracks and crevices. if you had a lot of paint on your brush, when you do areas like this, you end up with big blobs of paint in the cracks and crevices, and it will hide the detail then. And this is just like a nice detail on this, right? So I don't want to hide that. So again, less is more, less is more. And you certainly can spray paint as well if that's something that you prefer to do. I just personally really like seeing brush strokes. I think it lets you know that it was hand created. It's not, a mass produced piece. I really, really like how it looks with the brush strokes. Just always have. And then because like I said, I don't really want any paint up here. Just gonna take this, and while it's fresh and possibly still wet, I'm just gonna take just plain old water and on my paper towel here and just rub it off. Again, if you have the little bumpers to stick here in the corners so that these two pieces don't come down together, because while the paint is curing, and I didn't mention that, it takes about 30 days for paint to fully cure. So while it's curing, you don't really want a painted surface to sit on top of a painted surface. You don't want the two to sit together. So that's why we're not going to paint this, and we are painting this because I do like the finished look here. I'm kind of hoping with this soft pink color that this orangey, peachy color inside here will read a little bit more peachy. You may not know this, but you can paint this material, this like velvety kind of material. You just really, really, really water down some acrylic or chalk paint. Really water it down so it soaks in. And it takes a little while for it to dry when you do that, but I have done it and I have changed the color. So if it's not going to read peachy for me, I might end up doing that in the long run. But we shall see. I'm not giving up on it yet. Yeah, nice even strokes. And I'm going to turn it. And I'm just going to kind of hold the lid while I do the top here because I don't want it to close, not while it's wet. I'm going to get it in the little crevices here. Again, you don't want to do a lot of paint because you don't want it to fill in that detail, right? I'm really curious to see if you're doing this project alongside of me or if you're doing it on replay. I know there were a couple people who had plans tonight, but they were intending to do the project with me on replay. I'm so curious to see what people found around their houses. What did you find that you've been meaning to do, to get to? There's always those pieces, right? I always buy things and think, okay, I'll get to it. And then it just doesn't happen. Life happens and you just never get to it. Or I'm so busy making things for other people that I just don't get around to it. So I'm really curious to see what people have that they have been avoiding or unable to get to. Just going to go back around a little bit here to make sure that detail didn't fill in too much. And again, what you're seeing is not the tannins, it's just the darker wood because I'm using a lighter shade. Okay, and I'm going to let that open. Let's see, how are we doing for drying? Oh, it's drying pretty quick, again, because I used a really thin layer. So, yeah, I like how it's looking. Now, some people might ask, do you need to do a scuff coat with the sandpaper? And I did tell you to have some sandpaper. Not on something like this. It's not going to get a lot of wear and tear. The whole purpose of a scuff coat is to kind of rough up the wood a little bit and just make the paint adhere a little bit better to it. Something like maybe a table where the top of it is going to have things sitting on it. It's going to get some wear and tear. Then, yeah, maybe that's something that you would want to do. But with something like a jewelry box, especially like on a wall hanging, not necessary. It's really not necessary. But yeah, if you're doing like a large piece of furniture, I think that it's something that you would probably want to scuff sand, and it's just lightly sanding it with a high grit sandpaper. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start my second coat because this drawer is pretty dry. So again, being mindful of drips and all that kind of fun stuff. Looking pretty good. Nice even strokes. And I should mention my friend Kim on here. She was on, I think she's still on here. She does the most beautiful artwork. She's so talented. She does a lot of watercolors and acrylics and hand lettering. She's like a jack of all trades. So Kim, if you're still on here, if you want to drop your link in the comments so people can find you as well. She really does such a great job, and she has classes too that she does. She has such a steady hand. But she will tell you, she's the first one to tell you that it is practice, 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 practice. If she hopped off, I will drop her link at the end of this if you're interested to see something like that. Okay, this is looking pretty dry. Oh, does it matter if the paint's flat or glossy? No, it doesn't. I prefer matte because it is a lot more forgiving. I tell everybody that with the seal coats, with the glossy, you really see every single brush stroke. So unless you're a little bit more experienced and have done quite a few projects, I kind of stick to matte and satin. And I've done plenty of projects and I still stick to matte because it hides all my brush strokes. I like to see brush strokes, but with the glossy, it's just not, I can't get it quite right. So I suggest matte for sure. And a lot of the chalk paints don't come in glossy anyway. So if you're using chalk paint, you don't really have that choice anyhow. So again, just nice, even, all the way across, because this is a pretty small piece, so you can easily go all the way across with your brush stroke. If you're finding that you're going over it too many times, you can actually end up lifting the paint back off, and then you're kind of back at zero with just the primer. So just be careful, do nice light strokes, don't be real heavy-handed, and don't go over it too many times. If you do, not a huge, you know, not a huge deal, but it just means that you're going to have a lot more painting in your future. I'm just going along and adding a little bit more paint. Again, easier to add than to take away. Not impossible to take away, it's kind of a pain, honestly. And just be careful what you're grabbing, because if it's wet, you'll have a nice little fingerprint there. Again, I speak from experience. My fingerprints have been on many, many projects. Or you think it's dry, or it might almost be dry, and then you go ahead and grab it and you end up with your fingerprints. They could end up framing you for a crime if they have your fingerprints on their project. I watch too many crime shows, I guess. It's always on my mind. If they have my fingerprints, they could frame me. All right, that looks pretty good. Almost done here with the painting. I hope that if you are also following along and doing a project, that you are getting close to being done with your painting, or at least your second coat here. And you might still need to go back and touch up a little bit. There might be little areas where maybe you didn't get quite as much as you wanted to, or so that's all right. This project's a little tricky with all the nooks and crannies, so that's why I'm just going back to make sure that there aren't all filled in there. I want the details to show. Okay. I'm going to take the tissue out. Again, that's just to kind of keep it from sticking. Make sure I don't have any paint coming up over the edges, a little bit there. Again, just a wet paper towel will help you out. It's just so relaxing to paint sometimes. I often don't even have music or anything playing. I just like to paint. Sometimes it's almost like when you go on a walk and you just don't want any music, you just want to think. It's kind of how painting is for me. I just like the silence of it, just kind of concentrating on it. And then sometimes I got my music blasting and I'm jamming out. So, it all depends on the day. Again, just nice, easy strokes. We're not getting crazy here. And I was saying about not, having big blobs kind of go over the edge of your surface, like with the paint. If you notice after the fact that there was like a big blob somewhere and you're horrified, don't be horrified. We can fix that too. Sandpaper works wonders. Okay, it can be fixed. It's just a little extra work. So I'm just trying to save you some extra work. Again, just a little bit of water here. Just going to get that while it's wet. And again, if you decide you want to paint this edge here, which does look nice, it does give it a finished look, you're definitely going to want to put the little bumper pads to keep the two from sticking together. Just remember, go with the grain. And keeping in mind here at the top was where I'm putting my decoupage anyway. So, you know, while it doesn't have to be perfect, I don't want any of these dark areas to show through. So you might think, oh, no big deal, I'm putting decoupage there, it'll cover it. Well, it will, but if I'm putting decoupage directly on this and there's, you know, streaks of dark underneath, it's going to show through. So if you're okay with that, if that's the look you're going for, it's more of a grungy look, then great. If it's more of a clean, finished look, then you're definitely going to want to make sure that there aren't any of these dark streaks showing up. I'm just going to kind of go back over these a little bit just to make sure that that won't be an issue for us. Just trying to get this top a little bit better because this is obviously part that you will see quite a bit. And again, like I said, if you need to do a third coat, then you would do a third coat, right? Just going to touch up where my finger touched. I did get it on my arm too. Messy, messy art. Almost every piece of clothing that I own has paint on it somewhere. What's really perplexing is when you find paint on something that you didn't even wear while you were painting. It's always an interesting thing. Okay, alrighty. So it looks pretty good. I'm gonna hop over here. I'm gonna grab my hair dryer. And again, if you're using the heat gun, don't get it too close. I'm also going to move my paint away because if I leave my paint sit here, it will get dried out and it's looking like I could potentially need a third coat in some areas. So I'm going to start the hair dryer. And I especially want to make sure that the areas where there's like the detail, I want to make sure that that's nice and dry as well. Then I can really see if it's going to need a third coat. Again, because it was dark wood and a lighter paint color. And I just put my fingerprint there. What did I say? I tell you not to do it, and then I do it, right? Nice big fingerprint. I'm going to smooth that out real quick before it dries too much. I don't want there to be a blob there. And if things aren't smoothing out quite right, I can always use my paint, my water to squirt it and smooth it down. And if it's still not smooth, I can always go back with the sandpaper. I have a little area here that I kind of got a boo-boo on where I tuck my fingers. So I'm going to do a little bit of repair, but that's okay. Like I said, anything can be repaired. It just needs a little bit more work. Turn that off. And I'm going to come back over here. I am going to do a third coat real quick, just because of this light color. So if you too have a light color, you might need to do a third coat. Oh yeah, that looks much better already. Much better already. Set that aside. Come back here. Might actually end up using all of the paint on my paper plate here, which doesn't usually happen. But again, it's this light color that I'm using. It needs a little bit more than just the two coats. I don't even think had I done 2 coats of primer, I still would have needed, and I want the color to be pretty. I want it to look true to what's in the bottle. Nice little thin coats, that's all. And again, if you happen to be watching on YouTube, I was having some trouble seeing the comments there. So if you're over on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, and you have questions, I will go through and answer them when I am done. I was just having technical difficulties, and I'm an artist, not a tech guy. So I will take a look at those when I'm done here. And I promise you'll get answers. Also, for those wondering, yes, I do this this Makers Circle creative community once a month. And normally I have little art kits with everything you need to create whichever project we happen to be doing. I had wanted to figure out what I was going to do for the project for April before I got on here today, but like I said, I was organizing my craft room here, my studio, most of the day, and just didn't. I ran out of time. You always think you're going to have more time than you do. So I will think of something really cool to do, and for April, we will have an art kit. And anyone who orders the art kit or goes to one of my stockist shops and purchases it will have access to my tutorial. Normally, I don't do a live. I do I do a live tutorial with just those people who are doing the kit. So I will get figured out here what I'm going to do, and I will advertise that on my Facebook page, on my social media pages, and also have it available on my website. But I'm really hoping that you decide to join me for this monthly event. I really want to kind of create a community that just enjoys to craft together, um, and make some pretty things. Who doesn't like pretty things? I don't know. How are we feeling about this color on the inside? I was really, really, really hopeful that it would start to pull more peach. Do we think it's looking still orange? It's actually, is this making it more orange instead of peach? No. I don't know how I feel about that. Like I said, it's easy to change the color inside of a jewelry box. Just use really, really watered down paint. I might not even have to fully change it. I could maybe just add like a whitewash to it, and maybe that would make it a little bit more peach. I don't know. I still don't know how I feel about it. Do I have to know right now? If you've got a project that you want to do, I do have all of my tutorials on my YouTube page. You can watch them anytime. I pre-record my tutorials so that you don't have to sit and watch me paint or watch paint dry. Literally, when I'm hair drying it, I kind of speed up through those. Um, but the lives are nice so that we can interact and I can answer any questions that you might have. Or maybe I answer your question before you even get to ask it. Maybe I'm already giving you answers. This third coat is really finishing this off nicely. How are we feeling about it now? It's just a nice soft pink, this particular color. Again, this one happens to be a chalk paint, but if you have acrylic paint at home, use what you have. I encourage people to use what they have. You don't have to go running out buying a bunch of new stuff, especially if it's decor or something that's not going to get, beat up, used, things set on it, that sort of thing. Okay. I think that is the third coat, and I think that's all I need to do for that. So I am gonna squeeze out the extra paint here from my brush, stick it in the water, and then I'm going to hit this with the hairdryer. See, you really do need a hairdryer because you use them quite a bit for these projects. It really does speed it up for you. Again, drying really well where there's detail. spot here. I'm not going to do this. And go over with some water and a little bit of paint. Okay. Turn that off. Let's see. Just kind of like to go over and touch it, make sure. Okay. Even where I schmutzed it up a little bit with my finger, I think it looks okay. I think it'll be all right. I think it looks worse than it is, and I'm putting the decoupage there, so, and it's not an actual bump, so I think we're good. Okay, so I'm gonna get my paper. I'm gonna lay it on just to see what I think with this color coming through. I think it looks good. I think that looks really, really good. I think though I want to use the water pen for this. I didn't think I was going to, but I'm thinking maybe I need to, just to give it a soft torn edge. I think I'm going to keep it in the shape of a rectangle, but I'm going to use my water pen if I can find it. There it is. Again, the water pen, this is the chamber that's filled with water, just plain old water. This is the brush where you paint basically a line of water. So I'm going to kind of just get an idea of where I want. Down here, I'm probably going to cut it. Back here, I'll probably cut it. But along the sides, I think I want it to be a soft tear. Or do I want one side to be a soft tear? See, I don't plan these things out. Ooh, I just had a really good idea. Oh, I think I know what I'm going to do. I actually want, if I mark where the detail is, right? You know that there's this detail around. If I mark where that is, okay. So this is my thought, right? So I have the detail there. I think I'm going to just cut this out above the detail. So within the rectangle, I'm going to have the paper intact, but where it goes out, I'm going to cut so like the flower is breaking out. Let me get a good fold on this so I can see what I'm doing. I know I've watched some people doing their tutorials and they like know exactly what they're doing and exactly how it's going to look. And I'm like partway through and going, oh no, wait, I'm going to do it like this. It's just how I operate. I'm going to cut the excess off. So that I can get in here if you weren't sure what I meant when I said what I was going to do with this, you'll see in just a moment. Okay, let's take a look so far. If I put this on here and it's like bursting out the top, do you see what I was thinking? Right? So I'm going to do the same down here. And yes, sometimes designs change midstream, right? You just get inspired by something else. If you have an X-Acto knife and you want to cut something out, you certainly can do that as well. And obviously I won't have all of this because it doesn't go that far and I don't want to wrap it around forever. But for right now, I'm just going to leave that go. And then get an idea of where I want the design to stop. Did everyone get their decoupage glue? There are many different kinds out there. I just suggested Mod Podge because I know that it does come in the, what am I thinking of? Matte finish. It comes in the matte finish, which again, anything matte finish is so much more forgiving than anything with a real gloss to it, because you'll see every little imperfection with the real glossy kind. Like a satin finish is okay. What do we think? Like just this one little part up here. It kind of goes down in. Where are we at? I know I told you all I don't like it in the middle, but I don't know, kind of like it in the middle. Am I allowed to change my mind? Of course I am. Should I eyeball it or should I measure? What do you think? Keeping the music behind this portion that's within the rectangle and then letting the rest of the flower burst out. I kind of like it. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is our Mod Podge, right? So I have my Mod Podge, and what I'm going to do with that, find a clean brush here, and I'm going to just put a thin coat of Mod Podge on top here, okay? Real easy. Again, if you have the jar, don't be dipping your brush into it because you could very likely lift off some paint and then contaminate, especially with the darker colors. So you should probably just pour some on your plate if you have a little plate here or a little cup. And what I like to do with the Mod Podge, because it does tend to be a little bit thick, and I also like to wet my brush. It just makes it go on a little bit nicer. Mix it up, make sure it's not too thin, but thin enough that it'll go on nicely. Now, if you have a porous surface and you're painting your first coat of Mod Podge, it could very well soak right on in. I had little clipboards that we were doing for make and take. It could soak right in and then kind of almost disappear, right? And then you can't really glue anything to it. So, but with the painted surface, it shouldn't soak in too awful quick. You might end up needing to do a second coat just to make sure you have something to stick your decoupage to. But with this, you're just going to put a thin coat over the entire top or wherever you're going to stick it, wherever you want to stick your decoupage, right? And this is really the seal coat as well. I'm using a matte finish again because it is forgiving, but you can go around and put your top coat basically on the entire side that you're sticking your decoupage to. Right? I'm just going to make it a little bit thicker here where I know that I'm sticking the paper. Some weird glob there. And you want to make sure it's nice and smooth so that your paper will lay nice and flat. Okay? The next thing I'm going to do real quick is wet my paper. People have different ways that they like to do their decoupage. I like to do it wet. I think it lays a little bit easier and I like how it looks. And it's a little bit easier too if you need to reposition. And it really kind of goes down nice and flat then. And if you're worried about any lumps, bumps, or anything like that, you can stop worrying because as you hit it with the hair dryer, it's going to shrink back and lay really nicely on your project. As it shrinks back. Okay, I just like to use my fingers. There are little scrapers that you can use to lay them flat, but I like to use my fingers so that I can feel where is it laying flat? Is it not? Does it need a little bit more glue? Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit it with the hairdryer. Again, as the wet decoupage dries, it's going to shrink tight, right? I'm really liking how this looks. Lots of hair dryer tonight. I'm just using my finger, going over it to make sure that it's laying nice and flat. See, I love it. I love it. I love it. It's looking really good. It's drying really quickly. Okay, so before I started drying it, I had a few little, just little minor lumps and bumps. But now it is on there nice and tight. It shrunk back. It really is sticking nicely to the surface. Okay, now I need to decide what I want to do here. Do I want to wrap them around all the way? I don't think I want to go all the way with them. Maybe just to the edge here. I think that would be plenty. Don't need a all the way around. I don't think I would like how that looks. So I'm going to come back in again with my Mod Podge glue. And just put a thin layer here along this edge. Make sure it's on there real good. Down real tight. And then this is where your sandpaper is going to come in. I suggested sandpaper for a reason. We haven't used it yet. Where did I put my sandpaper? Here it is. I got a brand new little, you can use sandpaper, just like regular sandpaper. I got this great little tool. It's just like a mini sander, and then it has Velcro, and I can put whichever sandpapers that I would like. This attaches with the Velcro. So this is a very, very fine grip, and that's all I want. And this is the little micro sander that I'm talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and stick that fast. And before I use that, I just want to make sure that this is super duper dry. So I'm going to hit it with the hairdryer quick. Okay, so I think it's pretty dry. So I'm going to go with the micro sander, and I'm just going to sand gently along the edge here, and it's basically going to cut the paper. If I end up taking off a little bit of paint, no big deal. I can paint it back on, or I could decide to give the piece a more worn look by going around the edges and taking some of the paint off, which quite honestly I do often because I'm not super gentle on my things in my house. So if I go ahead and purposely nick them up, it just makes it look better when I actually nick them up and don't mean to. Makes it look like I did it intentionally, right? So there. So look at that. It cuts it. Cut it right off without any scissors or anything. I'm going to give it a little pull there. Being careful not to get over onto the paint. There we go. Maybe this just a little tiny bit here. This just barely hangs over. But it's a great way to get an exact fit without having to worry about, you know, cutting it and all that. There we go. What do we think? That's a nice edge there, right? Again, just using the micro sander. So you can get a micro sander or just a really fine grit sandpaper. But I like how that looks. Okay, what do we think so far? I like how it's looking. I really do. Okay, so then I was thinking possibly initially on the front of putting a little one that I cut out here. I don't know, is that too much? I'm just thinking if it's sitting up on something high, like a high top dresser, and you don't really see the top, maybe you would see the front then. I think I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Why not? It's just a quick little, right? Quick little thing. So while that is setting up there, I'm just going to tip this up. I should make sure my surface is dry first. Add some water spread there, right? Okay, so I'm just going to tip it up. You know, I could do it here or I could do it inside. Oh, I could do it inside. Or I could do another one inside. I could do that. Okay, for right now, we'll just concentrate on the outside. All right, so getting an idea of where I want it to be. Now this one's going to have to wrap around little areas here. So I think I will do the bottom portion first and then do the top portion. So I'm going to go back here to my watered down Mod Podge, and I'm actually going to pull the drawer out to do this because I want to make sure I get this top coat all around all the edges of the drawer. Again, this is just, it's to glue the decoupage on, but also it gives like a nice finish to your paint job that we work so hard to get right. Again, matte finish is your friend. Okay, so I have every surface that I painted covered, and then I'm just going to go back and put a little bit thicker coverage on here so that I can put my paper. Okay, at this point, I'll stick it back in.